What's up, guys? The Snowman here. Exciting times in the basketball world right now as the 2024 NBA playoffs right around the corner. Today I've got my playoff preview and some predictions to whet your appetite. I want to go through all the matchups, including the play-in tournament, and then analyze all the first round series. Some really enticing games on tap, especially in the West. Then I'll end by filling out my playoff bracket as I do each year. Try to predict the winners round by round, including which team wins the championship in June. Let's start off with a quick look at the play-in tournament. This is the 5th year that the play-in tournament has existed. On the left, we have the West, Pelicans and Lakers. Kings versus Warriors, two of those four teams will advance to the playoffs. Storyline-wise, I'm sure the Lakers and Warriors would pull in the most fans if they made it. The Lakers have blown out the Pelicans already 3 times this season, just seems to have their number. I think LA gets the 7 seed, and then Golden State, a lot's been made of their season, but I actually think New Orleans holds them off and ends up claiming the 8 seed to face OKC. On the East, some franchises we've gotten used to seeing in the postseason. 76ers versus Heat should be a ton of fun. Bulls and Hawks in the other game. Philly won 8 straight games to end the season, so they're on fire at the moment. Much will hinge on the health of Joel Embiid, as it does most of the time when we get to this part of the year for the 76ers. They're the favorite to get the 7 seed. I think the Miami Heat, despite a relatively mediocre regular season, sneak in as the 8 seed. So let's go through each of the first round matchups series by series. This is what the bracket could look like. Of course, the play-in teams are subject to change. Wouldn't shock anyone if the 2-7 matchup is, say, Denver, New Orleans, or maybe if the Warriors or Bulls made it into the playoffs. I want to start off in the West, where we have the 1-seeded Oklahoma City Thunder against either the Pelicans, Lakers, Kings, or Warriors. In this case, I have New Orleans, but let's focus on OKC for a sec. Extremely young nucleus, 25-year-old Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was a bona fide top 3 MVP candidate this season. Chet Holmgren played every single game. Jalen Williams had the best field goal percentage in clutch time of any top 50 scorer. Everything is pointing up for the Thunder, but somehow it doesn't feel like they're a heavy favorite to make it to the NBA Finals or even as a lock to win a single round. The West this year feels like it's more wide open than it's ever been before. I could see maybe 6 or 7 of these teams easily making the finals. If OKC is matched up with the Lakers in this spot, I feel like LA has too much size. LeBron and Anthony Davis could potentially bully them and win in 6 games, but if it's New Orleans, I have more faith in the Thunder. The Pelicans have struggled mightily in clutch games this season. They're ranked 25th in clutch net rating. They've blown 14 double-digit leads. I have OKC winning this potential series in 5. Next up is the reigning champion Denver Nuggets. They'll face either the Pelicans or Lakers, and I would love to see a rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals if the Lakers get the 7 seed. Denver has been dominating this matchup since that 4-game sweep last May, but it seems like every single game is a nail-biter. The game hanging within the balance with a few minutes left, but every time Jokic and Denver's execution down the stretch just a little bit sharper. The Nuggets remain the safest bet to make the finals in a very convoluted conference. Jokic likely wrapping up a 3rd regular season MVP award with his stellar play this year, but there have been a few warning signs. In fact, this team should have been the 1 seed. However, they blew an uncharacteristic game against the Spurs last week, and if it is the Lakers again as the challenger, I would expect at least a 6-game series of physical, grinded-out games. LeBron and AD will have to play lights out, but also if they don't get their best from guys like Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell, that'll make it tough to compete. Ultimately, it's a heavyweight fight that would be a real first-round treat, but Denver has beaten LA in each of the last 8 games they've played. I'll take the defending champs in 6. Now we get to the 2 guaranteed playoff series in the West. Our 3-6 encounter is the Minnesota Timberwolves with home court advantage against the Phoenix Suns. The Wolves might be the better seed, but they're actually slight underdogs in the series. Their young superstar Anthony Edwards didn't perform his best against the Suns this year as they went 0-3. In fact, Edwards with his lowest scoring average against any team this season in those games, but something I love about this series is it's a true contrast in styles. One team that plays big with 2 behemoths in Gobert and Towns, and one team that embraces small ball in Phoenix. The time is now for the Suns' big 3 of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. Some welcome news. Beal looked incredible in the season finale and has finally been coming into his own recently. I don't know if the Suns have enough depth to make a deep postseason run, but with those 3 guys clicking, they can knock off any team in the league. I mentioned the height disadvantage. Yusuf Nurkic will play a key role in the rebounding department. I see this playoff series as the hardest to predict and maybe the most entertaining. Give me Phoenix over the young Wolves in 7 memorable games. Last first rounder in the West, the LA Clippers with home court over the Dallas Mavericks in the 4-5 matchup. Another series where a road team actually slightly favored to win the series. Dallas in this case, it's a rematch from the first round in both 2020 and 21 when the Clippers beat the Mavericks. The Clippers do have some health concerns, as they usually do with Kawhi Leonard. He had to miss a few weeks to end the season due to some knee inflammation. Don't know if he'll be 100%, but you still got guys like Paul George, James Harden, Russell Westbrook. If the Clippers don't make a deep run, however, this year, it would be a disaster as they're moving stadiums to Inglewood next year. I think it'll be tough with the Mavericks. They've looked like legitimate title contenders for a couple of months now. Luka Doncic quietly putting up some all-time stats this year. There's been no crazy news stories about Kyrie for a little while now. He's been healthy and playing consistently, and the Mavs actually have the #1 defensive efficiency in the league since early March when they solidified their starting 5 of Irving, Doncic, Derek Jones, Washington, and Gafford. If they can get timely three-point shooting from the role players, I like Dallas not only to win this series in 6, but also go much further. Flipping over to the East now, where the dynamic much different than the Wild Wild West. Boston, a massive favorite to make the finals. They finished 14 games ahead of the 2-seeded Knicks. The conference and really the 2024 NBA title is undoubtedly theirs to lose. The Celtics could end up facing any of Philly, Miami, Chicago, or Atlanta in the first round. Most likely those 4 teams is the foe they know all too well in the Miami Heat. Personally, I think it's only fair. The Celtics and the Heat are one of the top rivalries in the game today. They've met in 3 of the past 4 Eastern Conference finals, so this is high-level basketball. Teams that are used to winning in April and May. The Heat won last year, but Boston seems like a different beast this season. One of 2 teams alongside OKC to be top 5 in both defense and offense. #1 in net rating, Porzingis and Drew Holiday have proven to be valuable additions to the star pairing of Tatum and Brown. There's not really any major flaws in the Celtics roster. They have shooting, defense, leadership, experience. Maybe you could mention the coaching, but it's been improved this season. I think whoever comes away with the 8 seed, even if it is the Heat, probably only winning 1 game at most. The 2-7 matchup would be an instant classic if we got New York versus Philadelphia. The Knicks have done nothing but battle and fight all year through some vital injuries. Their star Jalen Brunson missed a notable amount of time this season, as did Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, OG Anunoby. They've been short-handed all year long, but have a real spirit about them. Guys like Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo have become fan favorites. They're not flashy, but a high-energy team. Great shooting and rebounding from the wings. Everybody chips in. They'll have a real shot to make the Eastern Finals thanks to home court and Giannis being banged up. I hope it's Philly that meets the Knicks. Their whole outlook is contingent upon the left knee of reigning MVP Joel Embiid. The Sixers are 31-8 with Embiid in the lineup, 15-27 when he sits. Tyrese Maxey has taken a huge leap this year. Overall, I see this as a good matchup for the Knicks. They can throw multiple bigs like Robinson at Embiid. The Garden will be rocking like no other arena in the world. I'll take the Knicks in a 7-game series. Like the 76ers, another team in the East with a wounded ex-MVP is Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. They draw the 6-seeded Pacers in round 1. Those 2 teams providing us with some epic duels early on this year. Seems like an eternity ago. The series was 4-1 in favor of Indiana. The Pacers won that in-season tournament semifinal. Then a week later, Giannis dropped 64 points as Indy stole the game ball after the final whistle. This series should be an absolute scorcher, a shootout. Expect a ton of points. I don't think any of these guards can guard each other, specifically Lillard and Halliburton. Of course, the main storyline in the series is the recent calf strain of Giannis. When will he make his return to the court? He may end up missing, 2 to 4 games. It all depends on recovery, but they were bounced last year in the first round when Giannis missed time, and even though they might be the second best team in the East on paper with a healthy Giannis, they have limped into the playoffs, just 20-21 in the second half of the year, so Doc Rivers with a ton to prove. We know the Pacers are explosive offensively. Tyrese Halliburton, the leader in assists per game this year. Pascal Siakam has helped shore things up defensively, but again, expect a lot of fireworks. I think that the Bucks end up surviving in another 7-game series. Final first-round series to get to, and probably the most low-profile of the bunch, Cleveland versus Orlando. This series, the most likely one to get relegated to NBA TV on weeknights. I've never been a big believer in Cavs guard Donovan Mitchell, especially when you consider the knee issue he's been managing for over 2 months. Feels like he always shrinks come playoff time, but I do love the Cavalier interior defensive unit with Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. It's kind of an old school roster construction that I think can work in the right situation, but I think I actually like an upset to occur in this series. Cleveland almost a 2-1 favorite, but the Magic are tenacious defensively. Jonathan Isaac and Jalen Suggs a huge part of that. They turn their opponents over at the highest rate in the NBA, so that equals a bevy of free points. And then if the game is close down the stretch, the Magic have the best player in the series with Paolo Banchero, their 21-year-old budding superstar. Franz Wagner, incredibly skilled as well. This could be the start of a pretty decent era of success for an Orlando team that hasn't been in the spotlight much in over 10 years. Give me the Magic to pull off the upset in 6 games. Let's quickly go through the rest of my postseason bracket. I have the Mavericks taking down the top-seeded Thunder in 6. Luka and Kyrie, maybe the number 2 duo I want in the playoffs after Jokic and Murray. I know we got Giannis and Dame, Bron and AD, Tatum and Brown, but the Mavs feel like they can reach a transcendent level offensively with those two. Nuggets beat the Suns in a rematch from last year's playoffs. I don't think the Suns have the depth to match up with Denver. Yes, KD and Booker can win you a couple games, but 4 wins is tough to get to. Round 2 in the East, I have the Celtics rolling over the upstart Magic in 5. Bucks and Knicks to meet on the other side. New York aiming to make the conference finals for the first time since the turn of the millennium, but those plans will be thwarted by a hopefully healthy Giannis Antetokounmpo. Conference finals, I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I 100% believe this in my heart of hearts, but I really didn't want to go chalk and pick Boston and Denver, so I'm rolling with the Dallas Mavericks. Luka versus Jokic, great friends, 2 iconic global superstars. I know all these rounds are going to be difficult, but I could see this as a true coming out party for Doncic. Boston against Milwaukee in the East. I've always felt like the Bucks have been the best team in the East for the past 4 years or so, but the shift has been undeniable this season. Boston seems inevitable if they can just stay healthy. And then my NBA Finals prediction, again, I really didn't want to just pick the 2 favorites, so I'm going with Boston and a surprise pick of Dallas, Kyrie against his former mates. And in the end, I think the Celtics will add an 18th Larry O'Brien trophy to the trophy cabinet this June. Mavs give them a run for their money, but I predict the Celtics will win the 2024 championship in 6 great games. Thanks a lot for watching my 2024 NBA playoff preview. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you agree with, disagree with, if you've got the Celtics winning the championship as well, or if you've got maybe a more surprise team going all the way. Subscribe to the Snowman Sports Media for more basketball content, and I'll be back very soon. Cheers.